Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and let's get right into this video. So today we're going to be trying a SXC Polygel kit. This one is glow in the dark. This was a Christmas gift from Sister Spice, which is our special guest.
Hello.
Oh gosh, no. So Spice bought me this for Christmas and I'm really excited to try it. So we're going to be testing out this kit today. So let's just open this right up and let me show you everything that comes in it. So the first thing we got here is the instructions. Next we have some nail forms.
And now we have the dual forms. Say no to dual forms.
Then we have some really colorful nail gems. We also have this really fine silver glitter and this colorful circle glitters.
This 180 filing. Is it nail file filing?
It's a hand file.
Oh, thank you.
Filing. The next thing we have here is a really pretty blue polygel brush. Okay, now we got some base coat and top coat. Let's just get right into these polygels. Okay, so we have 6 different polygels right here. The first color we have here is called Aries. And here's the color. It's a really nice light blue, kind of looks like sky blue. The next color we got here is called Taurus. This is a really neon bright orange, which is pretty crazy because Sister Spice is a Taurus and her favorite color is orange. So that's pretty cool.
Ew.
Okay, next we have Virgo. Next is Libra. The next color is called Scorpio. And the last color is called Aquarius. So here are these 6 different colors. There's a blue, orange, a really light lemon yellow, a light green, and a nice lavender kind of purple. So here are all the colors, and that was the Polygel kit. So let's just get right into this nail set. Oh wait, let me show you how these look glowing in the dark actually. Okay, and here are how they look glowing. Really pretty. These are nice. Wow. All right, now let's actually get into the nail set. We're first gonna push back the cuticles. I don't feel like using the cuticle softener either, by the way, so we're not gonna use it. So we're just gonna start off with my cuticle pusher. They're not that bad. I just did her nails. Next, I'm gonna be taking this round cuticle drill bit and I'm gonna work this around the cuticle area. Okay, next I'm gonna take my cuticle scissors and I'm just gonna trim off this excess dead skin. Alright, next step is to remove the shine. Using my e-file, I have a fine grit sanding band and I'm gonna remove the shine from the nails, but also remove any of this leftover product that's on the nails. Okay, next I'm going to trim down her nails. Then I'm going to take my hand file and I'm just going to smooth out the nail. Next, I'm going to be using these NotPolish extra long nail tips and I'm just going to size them all out. So once I have the nail tips all sized out, I'm going to be taking my KDS glue and gluing on these nail tips. Here how the nail tips look all glued on, and I'm just going to trim them down just a little bit just to kind of straighten out that edge. Then I'm going to take my hand file and reshape these nail tips. Next, we're going to be removing the shine from these nail tips. Now we're going to be adding on some Dehydrator. Then I'm going to be taking some primer and I'm also going to be adding another layer of this on the nails as well. Next, we're going to be applying a layer of base coat. Okay, so here's how the nails are looking so far after we have the nail prep done and the base coat on. Now we're just gonna get right into this polygel application. We're gonna be doing some marbled ombre nails, and we're gonna try and use all of these polygel colors. I'm gonna use my mixing plate here, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of polygel. Okay, so I got my colors over here. Now we're just gonna get adding each of these colors on the nail. Alright, so I have the colors placed on the nails, and I'm just gonna kind of pat these out and smooth it out as best I can, and also maybe kind of not blend the colors, but make them look not so like patchy near each other.
Hey guys, it's Sister Spice with a creepy Reddit story. I heard you guys like the stalker stories, but I don't have a stalker story because I was on crunch time to find a story, period. But I have a creepy guy story. But this one is the subreddit Creepy Encounters. The title, Something Creepy Just Happened. Period. This is the story. I'm a single male who lives alone in Denver. Shout out to all the Denver people. My apartment complex is not what you would call a nice building. I'm on a road close to the Colfax Avenue, which, if you're familiar with the geography of this area, it's not the safest boulevard in town. I'm a few streets away from, but close enough that I wouldn't consider this an up and coming neighborhood. This evening, I was watching Netflix on my couch. My two cats were cuddled up against me as I lay under a comforter. The night before, I had watched a horror movie that was scary enough to leave me in an unsettled mood, making it hard to sleep. So this night, I decided to watch a stand-up special instead. Keep it light so I wouldn't have any trouble getting some shut-eye. I have classes early the next morning, so I was surprised when I made the conscious decision to turn on a second stand-up special and let myself fall asleep on the couch. I was just so comfy where I was laying and didn't want to move, not even to turn off the several lights on throughout my apartment. I remember dozing off around 11 o'clock. It was effortless, which meant I was really snug under the covers with my cats flanking me on either side, creating a tucked-in feeling. I fell into a dream where I was on the impromptu date with this guy who I didn't recognize at a Blockbuster video store. He bought me blue and yellow underwear, you know, like a Blockbuster would sell in Dreamland, insinuating I would take the hint of his intentions. He was also desperate for a job, so when we got to the counter, he was given an off-the-cuff interview that didn't go well. What on earth is this? And all of a sudden, I'm not sleeping anymore. I'm wakened up by a knock on my door. Then a man's voice said, "Maintenance." I just sat there. Sitting.
This is in the middle of the night?
Let me finish.
Okay.
I just sat there sitting bolt upright on my couch. I knew something was off. I looked at my phone, which was by my left hand, and the time read 2:15 a.m. I didn't move. The floor in my apartments are old wood and there are many creaky floorboards. I didn't want whoever was knocking on the door to know someone was at home and awake, let alone alert to his presence. My cats got up and ran over to the door as they normally would, but I stayed still and listened. After a few minutes with no answer, the man walked away from the door and down the hallway to the stairs. A moment after, I heard the back door to the building swing open and close. I have one window where I have a partial view of that door, so I break my paralysis and race over to it. I saw an old-looking green SUV sitting in the no parking zone just in front of the back door. Like his car's right there near the back door, ready to zoom off with who knows knows what.
Uh-huh.
It must have been running the entire time because I didn't hear it start up and the brake lights were glowing red. Someone, presumably the maintenance man, got in the car and it drove off. I don't know what his intentions were, but no one knocks on someone's door at 2:15 a.m. claiming to work for the landlord with good deeds in mind. Had it been a true emergency, wouldn't he have knocked again? Used his service key to get into the unit? What did I just avoid here? I can only assume it was an attempt robbery at best, or abduction at worst. When I was watching the SUV drive off, I surveyed the other apartment windows. They were all dark. I can see every unit except the 2 other corner apartments below me from that vantage point. I think because my apartment sticks out from the building and has many windows, I was targeted because my lights were visibly on and noticeable from the street. However, I don't know how this individual got into this building in the first place, as you would need a key to do so. I've never been so legitimately afraid as a single person living alone. I'm grateful I installed a security chain on my door when I moved in. I'm also so glad that even in my distorted state, I had the presence of mind not to move from the couch or make any noise. As I re-encounter the event, I can't stop my eyes from leaking tears, though I wouldn't call it crying. My nerves are definitely shot. I don't think I'll be going back to dreamland anytime soon. I have turned on all the lights, except for the lamp by my bed. I usually can't sleep with it on. Tonight, I don't think I could sleep with it off. The end.
So we can just kind of guess, like, what could have happened.
Because he had the car, like, literally parked right outside the back door, like, still on, like, ready to capture someone, run them to the car, and drive off. Here's the next one that I found. Community in Reddit is called the Cryptic Combidinium, subreddit exclusive. My daughter is obsessed with Disney. In fact, she doesn't want to be called by her real name anymore.
Oh no.
She insists on being named after Elsa, Queen of Ice. She has all the merchandise and all the movies on DVD. Every time Disney releases a new movie in the cinema, she insists she has to see it. Frozen, Moana, Mulan. She knows it by heart and will spoil it if you ask her. Last Christmas, I was at lost on what to give her. Encanto had just come out, and not only had she watched it 3 times, she already bought every single piece of merchandise that came with the movie. Surprise me, she said with a wink when I begged her for gift ideas. After weeks of raking my brain, I decided to just search the internet for the perfect gift. Before long, I came across an old video borrowing site just off the edge of the dark web. Dun, dun, dun. There was an old Disney DVD for sale. It was made in the old 2D animations and not the new 3D state of art animation like the modern Disney films. It was advertised as the Lost Disney Film, something they made but never released. In fact, it had no official title. The website simply said The Lost Disney Movie, now available. I want to get my kid that, that just don't sound right. It was relatively cheap too, only $25 with free shipping.
No
Not the free shipping. It came just in time for Christmas. Elsa squealed in joy when she ripped open the wrapping paper. I thought I watched every one, she shouted. This one's special. I winked at her. Elsa insisted on watching it the moment we finished dinner, and I obliged. Running it on the old TV, the movie was nothing really special, just the same old Disney plot. A princess lives on an island her entire life, finds a handsome, shipwrecked prince, falls in love, etc. Honestly, it was the cheesiest thing I've ever came across, but Elsa loved it. She wanted to watch it again, and again, and again. It's bedtime, darling, I said. It's bedtime, darling. You better leave that one in. I said, at last, when the clock struck midnight. No! She whined, her eyes still fixated on the screen. Girl, you better step back. So I yanked the plug out of the TV. Elsa still hadn't moved. Her eyes were still glued to the screen. What? I couldn't help but peek at the screen. My heart dropped to my stomach when I realized the movie was still playing.
After she what? Unplugged the TV?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
The characters were dancing and laughing across the island. Elsa, it's time for bed, sweetie, I called out again, shakily. This was not normal. I reminded myself to call the electrician when Christmas was over. Later, Elsa muttered without looking at me. The characters were still laughing on the screen. It was like they were laughing at me. The next morning, the movie was still on TV. The long cord snaked across the room, the plug grinning at me. Elsa had not moved. Her jaw was slacked and her eyes were red, and she was as still as a statue. Elsa, breakfast? I said. Elsa did not respond. I stood in between her and my television set. Elsa, breakfast, I nearly shouted. Elsa still said nothing. A dribble of saliva ran down from her mouth. Her pupils were dilated and her face was throbbing. It had only been one night, but it was as if she had not slept for many days. Leave me alone,
No.
she gurgled sleepily. This was not normal. You let your kid stay up all night while you went to bed.
You wake up in the morning, you don't even care. She sounds like she don't care.
Nothing I did would make her stop watching the movie. Dragging her away was impossible. It was like she was glued to the spot. I was throwing a blanket over it, but it caught fire and crumbled to ashes on the floor with
the
a
TV?
hiss. Yes.
Oh my god.
Miss Girl put a blanket over the screen, you know, because unplugging it didn't work. So, like, blocking the screen, maybe. But that blanket caught on fire.
And the blanket burned.
Yeah.
So that the TV could put. Oh my gosh.
Desperately, I tried to smash the TV, but the hammer simply bounced off the glass.
It's haunted. That's haunted.
I swung the hammer again, but this time the hammer crumbled into smithereens at my feet. The cartoon continued to play, every word a taunting reminder at my attempts. In the end, I gave up. Nothing worked. I kept a wary eye on her as the days slipped by. Then she started changing. Her face grew as white as bone. Her skin grew translucent until I could see the insides of her. Her eyes were pale and bloodshot. Her jaw was too slacked. She barely responded when I called her name. As she grew more interested into the film, sliding closer and closer as the days went by. Then one day, all was silent. I called Elsa's name, but she did not even grunt. Then I made the mistake of looking at the television set. There she was, frolicking happily on the island with the characters. A blur of pixels on the screen. I screamed her name and banged on the screen, but it was like she couldn't hear me. Like she was there all along. I kind of regretted buying the lost movie off the internet now, especially since I lost my daughter. Too good to be true, as the saying goes. How I wish I heeded that warning. Especially since, as I pen the words, I hear my daughter's sweet voice from the television set, inviting me to watch the movie and be with her, frolicking on the island's paradise like the old days. Should I? The end.
It sucks you in. And
Yeah,
that's why
like,
her body was
literally.
just there.
Literally sucks you in.
It's got me glued to my seat.
The mother could easily just sit there like the daughter did, and they'll both be on the island together with no worries. What are those other people on the island? What if they're other people and they're just in the movie now, living their life? Like, yeah, my life is a movie, you know, type of thing. And she just joined them, all the people that bought it, and she just joined My Life is a Movie. One Reddit commenter said, I didn't realize where I was reading this at first and thought to myself, what a spoiled brat. Very good. Go join her. Better than the real world at the moment. And no bills. Like, would you, if that happened, would you just stare at the TV and join the island paradise? But it's like, is it that good? Like, are you able to do your regular things? Or are you gonna have to adapt to living on an island?
Or if you're in there, do you even know that you're actually in there?
I'm an island boy.
Not this
Island
again.
boy.
I wonder if she tried taking the TV out. Like, would it teleport back?
Right? Oh, yeah, she never tried to remove the TV. Maybe it was too heavy. She just tried to cover the screen and smash it, but TV turned invincible now.
All right, so we got all the tips of the nails nicely done. We're just going to do the ombre now. So I'm going to be using this Nude Polygel from Makartt. Yeah, I'm just gonna add a bead of this near the cuticle area. And then I'm gonna smooth it out and just blend it up the nail to create our ombre.
This next story is by Fell's Disciples. This was also the same person that wrote the Someone Living in My Closet
Secret
story.
room. Oh no, yeah, it was a secret room.
Like the secret room in my house story, and like watching her and her dad is like a secret spy type of thing. They also wrote this story. This one is titled 15% of Americans unknowingly experience a stranger looking through their window for an hour or more. They should never have left me alone. Or maybe I shouldn't have let them go. Ugh, I have no idea. I just wish I'd known how often strangers watch us in our own homes. This weekend was difficult enough. I was taking a significant other to a family reunion for the first time ever, shifting whispered rumors of my lesbianism into flesh and blood fact. Things started okay before everything hit the fan. We're renting a beach house. My aunt and her teenage daughter took one room, while my mom shared a room with Lynn and me. A raised loft within the bedroom gave us a little bit of privacy, at least. That's where everything started. My need to go on daily runs, even on vacation, is one of the many reasons that my family thinks I'm so strange. But Lynn was getting along pretty well with everyone, so she told me to go ahead and meet them in the waves when I was done. Running relaxes me. As I did a quick 5 miles, I finally began to feel that things might work out. The inner tension that had lurked inside of me for a lifetime was finally being addressed. Not released, but addressed. The thought of spending time with my girlfriend and my family, like I was normal, caused me to tear up just a little bit. Once I finished, I raced back up to the loft to change into my swimsuit. That's when he walked into the house. Noticed that there weren't any men on the weekend's roster, but the raspy foreign breath combined with the heavy thud of his boots on the wooden floor made it clear that it was a male walking through the hallway, headed to my bedroom, which only had one door. That door opened. His breathing was labored. I was sure that my heart was beating loud enough to give away my position, but I did my best to hide. I curled into the farthest corner of the loft and tried not to breathe. Step, step, step. He paced back and forth in the room beneath me, traversing the same patch of floor.
Oh my
Miggles!
gosh, look how cute.
I wasn't close enough to see him, even if my eyes weren't winced shut, but the sound of his movements painted a picture clear enough to illuminate every action. He sat down heavily on my mom's bed and exhaled a long, rattled sigh. Then he spoke. Allison, I'm Allison, by the way. This is the narrator. The narrator's Allison. Neither of us moved. My heart had nearly stopped by the time he stood up again. The man resumed his pacing back and forth across the floorboards below. Then he approached the wall. He tapped on it, and then his footsteps continued up the wall. I hyperventilated as the heavy thud of his boots worked its way and possibly towards the ceiling. Nothing made sense. The one clear fact was that I needed to leave, but the only exit from the loft was a nearby ladder. There was no way that I'd be able to scurry down in time, so I waited. The footsteps approaching the ceiling, and then they tapped against the underside of the loft. I was still too terrified to move, but the footsteps were getting closer. The wooden floor vibrated with each footfall until the man was standing, upside down, right under me.
Is she saying like it sounds like he's on the floor, then he walked up the wall, now he's walking on the ceiling?
Yes.
What the heck?
And he's in the floor under her loft. I was crying silently but uncontrollably as he stopped directly below where I sat, separated from me by just a few wooden planks. I risked opening my eyes. It was a bad decision. Grimy fingers curled around the edge of the loft, wiggling excitingly as they probed closer to me. I closed my eyes tighter than before. Then he laughed. It was guttural, wheezy, and unkind. That's when the man walked back across the ceiling, down the wall, and out the bedroom door. My survival instincts were torn between never move again and run away forever. The latter won out, and since I hadn't changed from my running clothes, it seemed like a valuable option. My body was shaking badly enough that I nearly fell off the ladder, but I made it down in one piece. Part of me was hoping that I had imagined it all, and I was really all crazy, as everyone had assumed, and that I wouldn't be free to believe them, instead of having faith in the horrifying reality of my own senses. All such silly hope was shattered when I saw the footprints. Several sets traversed the floor, leaving muddy stains in their wake. One set led up the wall, it crossed the ceiling, and then turned around and headed back to the floor. Hanging from the ceiling was an envelope with Allison written on it. Is it like a ghost, or
Some kind of creature?
Oh no. I had no interest in whatever the message read. I ran outside into the sunshine down to the short path towards the beach. I stopped when I found myself alone on the sand. Panicked, I ran up and down the beach in search of my family. When that proves fruitless, I ran back towards the house, terrified. I searched every horrible corner of this place, even the rooms with footprints in them. I found nothing. Crying audibly now, I dialed 911. There was no service. I went back to the bedroom. The note was still hanging from the ceiling. Slowly, I climbed onto my mom's bed, reached out and plucked it from the string that was holding it in place. My hands were nearly trembling too badly to read it. I have loved watching them sleep. Now I have them for my own. The end of part 1.
Did he just kidnap the family?
I don't know.
And what is he even?
Welcome to part 2 of 15% of Americans unknowingly experience a stranger looking through their window for an hour or more. Don't let the 15% trick you. This is an actual made up story, not for real. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. Unfortunately, my stomach eventually emptied out. That meant I was once again alone with my thoughts. My family's gone. I had no cell service, and a strange man left me a note. Okay, Allison, I told myself. There's a way out of this if you look hard enough. I closed my eyes and washed my mouth in the sink. The neighbors, I realized. I'll go to the nearest house and call the police from there. The idea was cool and logical. I could grab my mom's keys, take the rental car, and drive until I found something. Except that my mom specifically told me that the electronic remote key thingy had broken, and that she was going to call a tow that afternoon since her car couldn't start. Okay, no problem, I told myself steadily, rising in heartbeat. I'm still in my running clothes. I'll head out on foot. That's when I realized that I didn't recall seeing any houses on my run. I squeezed my eyes shut and forced myself to remember as much of the run as I could. Nothing. I only recalled dirt trails. The panic was whining at this point. The only option left was to run until I found something or someone that could help. I would then tell them to come back here and help me look for my missing family. Wait. My head spun. I couldn't remember where here was. Did my mom just not tell me a street or a city name? Oh my goodness. I was so anxious about bringing my girlfriend to meet my family that I didn't pay attention to anything about our current location. I racked my brain, but the harder I thought, the more it retreated, like trying to remember a dream upon waking. Something was missing. A piece of my memory was just empty. A crash from the bedroom sent me flying to my feet. I was already teetering on edge of passing out, and that jolt nearly pushed me over. But I couldn't run away. I simply had nowhere to go. I didn't have any weapons and had never used one, so there was nothing left for me to do but creep towards the bedroom with the unholy footprints all over the wall and ceiling. I pushed open the wooden door, wincing at the creak. Maybe everything would be back to normal when I stepped inside? Nope. The footprints were on every unnatural surface in the high-ceiling wooden room. I felt coward on every side, as though I'd walked into a stadium with thousands of invisible muted beings. Oh, poop. The ladder was on the floor. Someone had knocked it down while I was in the bathroom. Someone was nearby. That's when I noticed the note. It sat on one of the rugs. It had been placed there since the ladder fell. Some point within the last minute, it was folded neatly. There was no doubt that I was supposed to read it again. I didn't want to go further into the room. It felt like I was diving into a narrow underground waterfall tunnel. My ears nearly popped with the pressure as I moved towards, silently begging my running shoes to stay quiet while I moved. I didn't want to pick up the note. I didn't want to read it, but I was unable to conceptualize a world without any other option. Eyes stinging, I crouched and stretched my arm as far as possible, as though I would be able to get near it without getting near it. You know, you're on the other side of the room and you try to stretch your hand to reach something. I closed my eyes and batted it with my fingertip once, twice, 3 times before snatching it up. Then I turned and darted from the room. We sense the presence of others, even if we can't see them or hear them. Being inside a packed stadium feels different from sitting inside an empty one, and that's true with your eyes and ears shut. The sensation followed me until I got out of the bedroom and closed the door behind me. Standing in the dimly lit hallway, I unfolded the note. I couldn't steady my hands enough to read it, though So I leaned against the wall, sank into a sitting position, and pressed the paper onto the floor. The letter was written in childish scrawl. Go wait in the cellar if you want mommy to live. I wanted to cry and vomit at the same time, but my head was too numb. I must have sat still for 10 minutes. What is there to do when you receive an impossible request with no second option? My answer was simple. Tell myself 19 times in a row that I refuse to obey. Explain that aloud to the page another 13 times and then stand up.
So here's how the nails are looking so far. Really colorful and beautiful. I'm just gonna have to encapsulate them now.
I was going to the cellar. I didn't tell myself that I was going to the cellar because that would be crazy. I just put one foot in front of the other while facing the general direction and denying what had to be done. It felt eerie, similar to dystopian revolt brewing in my gut when I walked into my mom's house to tell her that I was dating a girl. All of my instincts had informed me to self-preserve by avoiding a potential source of deep pain. Go wait in the cellar if you want mommy to live. Go wait in the cellar if you want mommy to live. I wiped the first tear from my eye as I stepped outside. The beach cottage was transcendently peaceful, which would have been a beautiful thing if I weren't so alone. I walked around the corner of the house to the cellar door I'd noticed when we first arrived. My shoes sank just a little into the soft, dewy morning mud as I stayed close to the wall. I stared up the cobalt sky, listening to seagulls trying to get my head anywhere but where I was. The cellar doors were cast in shadow despite sitting on the sunward side of the house, and my instincts told me to stay away. My feet, however, continued forward, making sticky sounds in the mud as I went. I stopped 10 steps away from the cellar door and looked behind me. I don't know why this was necessary, and I was afraid to look, but I was more terrified not to look. There were 2 sets of footprints. One was my set of size 5 running shoes. The other was an enormous boot print. The boot print simply ended halfway between me and the edge of the house, as though the walker had vanished. I was certain they hadn't been there just a few seconds earlier. I wiped away another tear and wrapped my arms around myself, shivering despite the heat that had plagued me during the run. Approaching the cellar doors, I reached down and felt the weathered wood of 2 handles. I looked behind me before opening. The muddy boot prints had taken 5 steps closer since I turned my back. I pulled on the cellar doors. An icy gust rushed over my body as my nostrils were assaulted with the scent of must and rot and sadness. I dropped the doors to the ground, leaving them wide open, and lifted one tentative foot over the first step into darkness. Don't go in there, screamed every thought in my head. Then I turned around and saw that a muddy boot print had appeared 6 inches next to my own shoe. I scurried down the steps, teeth chattering as I forced myself to breathe through my mouth. At the bottom of the stairs was an open coffin with the note inside. The rest of the basement was too dark to see. I reached a shaking hand down and lifted the note. Allison was written across it, the same childish writing. I opened the letter and read its contents. Lie inside and wait for me to bring mommy out to safety. Keep the lid closed if you do not want her to appear in several pieces. The end of part 2.
Some kind of paranormal something, or
maybe she has delusions. Now on to part 3. The basement smelled like poop, decay, sadness, and sulfur?
We're dealing with supernatural, for sure.
I stood over an open coffin. The open letter trembled in my hands. I looked down to read it once more, hoping that it had changed. Lie inside and wait for me to bring mommy out to the safety. Keep the lid open if you do not want her to appear in several pieces. It hadn't changed. I wiped away tears that had sprung from stress and stinging stench. Every second that passed was its own kind of torture, as I hoped that I could delay my decision. Then a shadow fell over me. I knew that someone was standing in the open cellar door at my back, watching. I also knew that if I turned around, I wouldn't see anything, but it would be there. It would be angry if I didn't obey. There's no glory in accepting that every card is stacked against you. Sometimes the only thing left to do is move forward by sacrificing excess hope. I placed one muddy shoe in the coffin. I'm not really doing this, I told myself. I'm just putting one foot in. Then I placed the second shaking leg inside. I didn't bother wiping away the tears anymore. I sat down in the coffin, eyes shut tight. It was impossible to force myself to lie flat. Then the first footstep fell on the cellar stairs. It was followed by a second and then a third. The descending shadow covered my eyelids as I fell into a deeper dark. I slinked down into the coffin out of fear, simply to get farther away from whatever was coming for me. The space was too narrow for the fetal position, so I crossed my arms over my chest and kept my eyes closed tighter. Footsteps moved across the cellar towards where I lay. There was no amount of money on earth that could have convinced me to open my eyes and look at the thing above me. That choice became mooted as the coffin slammed shut over my head. You can hear silence. We're used to the subliminal reverberations that tell us we're in a room or outdoors. Have you ever been shut inside a box? It sounds like sadness. That's the moment when I changed my mind. I wanted out. I opened my eyes, but it was still impossible to see anything as I pressed my palms against the underside of the lid. It didn't budge. I was locked in. Calmness raced out of me while panic took over all my primary mode of self-preservation. The harder I pushed, the more I freaked out, which led me to push even harder. The tears were pure terror now. Tendrils of snarly claustrophobia wrapped their reaches around my limbs as my mind refused to save me from hyperventilation. I'm ashamed to admit that if given the choice, I would have traded my mother's life in that moment if it meant I could break free. My head and stomach lurched as the coffin was lifted from the ground. I had no idea what in the heck could move it so powerfully, but there was no way that a human could be responsible. Nausea flooded through me as the coffin rotated, lifting my feet high while my head dipped low. Oh my god, it's like, like angle on angle. I pressed my hands against the coffin wall above my hair as I realized that I was about to flip upside down. But it was no use. Supporting myself from that angle was impossible. My body weight crushed my head as my face was pressed against the wall while I inverted my legs above the rest of me. That's painful. I couldn't breathe with my face covered, but my heart demanded more oxygen just the same. The rotation continued until I was horizontal once more, but now the coffin was upside down. Would the lid pop open and drop me on the floor? If so, there was no way to hold on. I would just have to cover my mouth so that the cement floor didn't explode my teeth in 19 different directions. This is so gross. I tried to control my panic by counting, but had to stop at 13. The dark coffin was now rotating again, but this time on a long, wide axis, which meant that I was turning like a roasting pig on a spit. I scratched at the walls as I spun and spun, feeling like I would never ever stop. None of it made sense. The only certainty was that this was impossible for any living thing to accomplish. Not even 10 people working together could make this coffin move in the way or that speed. Then it stopped, but my head kept spinning and spinning and spinning in the dark. I opened my mouth to throw up again. Ew. She's spinning with throw up in there. That's when I found out the lid was facing downwards. It opened with no warning. I had just enough time to cover my teeth. I shrieked as I hit the ground and split open my chin. I barely avoided being crushed by the coffin. Crack! It fell where I had just been seconds earlier, splintering on the floor. I could no longer tell what liquid on my face was blood and what was tears. Dizziness prevented me from sitting up as a shadow slid across the cement and stood over me. I wanted to die. I didn't want to be dead, but when that outcome feels inevitable, all the buildup is just unnecessary drama that the dead aren't obligated to endure. So I didn't even back away when the shadow approached me and knelt by my side, speaking in a shaking, agonizing voice. "Allison, I'm so sorry. I thought I killed you," I gasped. "Mom? We don't have time," she hissed, sliding an arm underneath my shoulder. "We need to move inside. Don't open your eyes. We don't want to make him angry. We've got a long road ahead of us, Allison, and you're not going to like what you need to do next." Okay, there is many parts to this story. Right now we're on part 4, but I don't feel like reading it anymore. I don't know why. It's like now we're getting to the good part. I probably left you on a cliffhanger. But in the next ep, when we do my other hand, definitely I'll read more parts. Hopefully we'll finish it. This one might be a little Joe and Love vibes from you. I confessed to my wife about what really happened to those missing schoolgirls. After I told her, she said, "Who do you think was making sure their bodies weren't found?" I was surprised when my daughter refused to leave her tooth for the tooth fairy. The memory flooded my mind when the detectives found the tooth fairy's costume in my depraved neighbor's closet.
The tooth fairy was real.
Yeah, like a
And-
real creepy man
yeah.
going in the kid's bedroom and being like, give me your teeth.
Ew! And now he understands why she didn't want. But it's too late.
I deleted all my emails, even killed the only mailman willing to go to our wood cabin, and got rid of every way I could be contacted. But the devil grew restless, and now the little daughter I traded my soul for won't stop drawing me dying. I guess she traded her soul to save her daughter. I found my grandpa in the living room watching a documentary about a serial killer that was never caught. As I come closer to surprise him, I hear him say, I still remember those glorious days.
They're talking about him right there. And he just said that out loud.
He's like, oh man, I'm on TV.
I would have been like, I knew you were there. I was just kidding.
I remember staying at the hospital to accompany my sick grandpa. I also remember pulling off the plug for the beeping machine from its socket so my grandpa can sleep peacefully.
It's kind of like both.
Are you
How do you
dumb?
How do you explain it? It's like sleep peacefully, like he is sleeping peacefully, but she wanted him to actually go to bed, take a sleep.
Yeah.
But also meaning sleep peacefully.
Yeah. Rest peaceful and also sleep peaceful, but at the same
It's both.
time.
So who knows what she really meant? So who knows if she was really dumb and she just really, or she's sinister.
Always make sure to look left and right before crossing the road, the mother reminded her children before going to school. Unfortunately, maybe she should also remind them to look in front of them for any vehicles that is speeding towards them at the three-way intersection. I was so devastated when I came home and found my wife in bed with another man that I left without saying a word. It wasn't until the day after when I finally returned that I noticed the lock on the back door was broken. It's like a robber.
Oh.
He busted the door open and came in while his wife was in the house. Maybe the robber...
he just left.
Yeah, maybe the robber passed out after, I don't know, killing her and just happened to fall on the bed. And then he came back and was like, oh, my wife is dead. The door is broken. My boss told me I wouldn't get the promotion because I wasn't creative enough. At the funeral, I leaned over the coffin and whispered, look who's thinking outside the box now. I was in a cheery mood as I finished my wife's glass of wine as she had already fallen asleep. I picked up the journal next to her and read, I promise it was painless and quick. She put poison in her drink because she already fell asleep before he did.
Oh, and he just drank some.
Yeah, he was like, oh, my silly wife, let me finish her cup for her. And then he's like,
I
what's this
get
journal? And then reads it and he's like, what?
I see. So he's trying to tell him, don't worry, I died peacefully. Oh, gosh.
Thinking it would be fun, I decided to give lucid dreaming a go. But as I tried it that night, I heard my alarm go off in my dream with the message, program became self-aware, initiating termination. They say you shouldn't take furniture off the street, and I'm starting to see why. Between the texture, the smell, and the leaking dark liquid, I don't think it's beanbags in this chair.
And he took it off the street? Oh, that's foul.
All right, he said, removing his surgical glove with a snap. Let's get this baby on ice. We don't want him rotting before the BBQ. I'm kind of tired of reading some stories, but it was great, and I think I'm gonna end my stories here. In the next vid I'm in, I'll definitely continue the other parts. But yeah, enjoy the nail set. Peace out from Spice. In love, they're making me live, laugh, love to the fullest.
So we're just gonna get reshaping these nails. I have my Makartt dust collector and a hand file. And yeah, we're just gonna get reshaping. Okay, so here's how the nails are looking after all the shaping is done, and now we're gonna get right into the nail art. So this nail art, we're first gonna start off by making some clouds. So I have some white gel polish right here. I'm gonna start by putting a couple dots in like a cloud shape. Then I'm gonna take like a flat brush like this, just kind of feathering out the end. All right, and we got our cloud here. So I'm just going to be showing you guys like one nail of nail art because this nail art was so challenging. I would say the cloud part was not the hardest part. The cloud part was pretty easy and simple, but it was when I got to drawing the sweet tart hearts and outlining those that was the hardest part of this nail set. So yeah, I'm just going to be starting off with the clouds and just kind of separating them enough where I could like fit the hearts in like the empty areas. And then after I'm done with that, I move on to drawing on the hearts. So drawing on hearts is not that hard when they're small. When they're bigger like this, it's a little bit harder because you have to actually make sure that your lines are nice and straight because it's much more noticeable. And I tried to make the hearts as big as I could, but I didn't want them to be too big or else it would just like cover up all of the base work that we did. So after I have the different hearts drawn on, I have to go ahead and outline them and add that other line that makes it look kind of 3D. Yeah, this was definitely so hard. I don't know if it was my brushes or it was just me, I don't know, but outlining them was so hard and challenging. Yeah, this nail art definitely took us very long to do. So I decided to not show you guys me doing every nail or else we'd be here for definitely way too long. So after I have them outlined, I'm going to be adding on the little words in the center of the hearts. And right when I'm like so tired and ready to be done with this nail set, my sister's like, "Can we put my boyfriend's name on the underside of my nails?" Oh my gosh. Luckily, his name isn't that long. I went ahead and used these old English letter stickers and I added his name at the bottom of the nails and I went ahead and top coated the underside. And finally, to finish off this nail set, we're going to be adding a layer of matte top coat on the nails. Next, I'm going to be adding on some cuticle oil. And here are how the nails turned out. Let me know what you guys think of this nail set in the comments, and also let me know if you enjoyed the longer video and all the creepy Reddit stories. So yeah, just let me know if you guys enjoyed. I hope you all did. Even though the set was a lot of hard work and took very long, I really did like how it came out, and I'm just kind of proud of myself that I even got it to look like a little bit similar to the inspiration picture. This was definitely a challenging nail set. There was just so many elements in it, like the marble, the ombre, and then all the nail art. Yeah, it was just kind of a lot, but still I did really enjoy making the nail set and I like how it came out, so it was pretty much worth it in the end. And these nails also glow in the dark, so I wanted to show you guys that. Here's how they look. They are so bright. This polygel was really good. I know I didn't really talk much about the polygel in this video, but I do have to say it was really good and easy to work with, and the glow in the dark is so bright. So I'm going to be doing her other hand in another video, and that's going to be part 2. I'm gonna try and post that video tomorrow. But yeah, that is pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching if you watched the whole video, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will talk to you all next time. Bye!